I'm Sophie, and today I will be talking about crochet and knits for well-being. So my main question is, do crochet and knitting have positive effects on well-being, and could it possibly be seen as a way of stimming? Well-being. The definition of mental well-being is defined as a state of well-being in which the individual realizes his or her own abilities, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. I looked at multiple studies and research papers to find out more about the connection between well-being and crocheting and knitting. Impact on well-being. The first study, Happy Hookers, looks at the effect of crochet on well-being. The study was conducted via an online survey where 8,391 people participated. Over 99% of all participants were female, and 49% were aged between 14 and 60. Furthermore, the participants lived in a combined 87 different countries. The study found out that there were 5 major themes that contributed to people's motivation to crochet: health benefits, process of crochet, personal connections, crochet as contribution, and online crochet communities. The health benefits reported are helping in dealing with depression, anxiety, and stress. The participants voiced that crocheting allowed them to make more personal connections and find online crochet communities. They reported that crocheting together gave them a sense of belonging and confidence. The study concluded that crocheting in general had positive benefits, can help manage mental health struggles, life events such as grief, chronic illness, and pain. The second study, Benefits of Knitting for Personal and Emotional Well-being, looks at the benefits of knitting for personal and social well-being and how it can be an assistant to therapy. Like the first study we discussed, this study was conducted via the help of an online survey which surveyed 3,545 knitters worldwide. This study showed comparable results to the first study, with participants reporting improved mood, feeling happy, and having a better communication with others. Knitters said that it promoted calmness in themselves, especially due to the rhythmic movement of knitting. They also reported knitting as a stress relief, also helping people cope with anxiety disorders. Knitting was found to help people cope with various problems such as emotional instability. It concludes that knitting has a valuable psychological impact on well-being, and that it can contribute to a person's well-being. Stitching in university. I'm a very shy and awkward person, so starting to go to university was quite daunting at first. I didn't know anyone and nobody knew me. And I was also just too shy to just come up to someone and exchange numbers. In my first semester, I had a lot of time between my seminars and needed something to do. So I started bringing my current crochet or knit projects to university. It had so many positive benefits. For one, I had something to do, especially when I had 4 hours of free time between my seminars. It helped alleviate the immense boredom. I would look for a nice place to sit, start a podcast, and just start crocheting or knitting. Additionally, I'm the type of person who always has to have something in her hands. I'm a fidgeter at heart. It doesn't matter where I am, my fingers always need something to do. Knitting and crocheting helps that, especially when I'm sitting in a lecture or a seminar. I often whip out my current project. I can't do this in every seminar though, as some professors don't think too highly of this. There's this one seminar I go to, for example. It's Monday in the afternoon, where I've counted at least 6 people who have knit or crocheted in the seminar up until now. Most of the time it's only 4 of us knitting and crocheting though. If you don't know, I'm at university to study to become a primary school teacher. This seminar is about neurodivergence in mainstream school. It's a super interesting seminar where I actually learn a lot of useful things. In this seminar, we have talked a lot about accommodations for neurodivergent and especially autistic children. These accommodations, for example, include headphones, a quiet room, structured lessons, clear communication, and also fidget toys. What we've learned though is that a lot of these accommodations are not only helpful for an autistic individual, but also for neurotypical people. Knitting is stimming. I would like to claim that crocheting and knitting, but especially knitting, can be a way of stimming. Stimming, or also RRB in research, are stereotyped, restricted, repetitive behaviors, often but not solely found in autistic individuals. These behaviors are also often sensory seeking. Until a few years ago, RRB was always seen in a hindering and negative way. These last few years, though, there has been an uprising in autism awareness and shedding light to positive traits. RRB has since been redefined as stimming. Stimming claims to have positive benefits, being used as self-regulation and stress relief. Self-reported studies have shown that even non-autistic people, although not as often, also stim. It has positive effects for both autistic and non-autistic individuals. Looking at knitting now, especially when knitting stockinette, it can be labeled as a rhythmic, repetitive movement. You always repeat the same motion and also have this sensory-seeking movement. You can feel the loops on the cold knitting needles, the drag of the needles, and the fabric of the knit. You also have this constant motion and constant but always the same change of sensory feeling on your hands. I am of the opinion that knitting can be a way of stimming as a stress relief and sensory seeking behavior in certain situations. Outlook. Now that we have discussed all the positive health benefits knitting and crocheting have, what do we do with that? I suggest we do more research on how knitting and crocheting can be used as a way of stimming for both neurodivergent and neurotypical people. The goal for stimming is the social acceptance of this behavior. It is important to refrain from describing stimming as a negative autistic trait, and instead of that, uplifting how stimming can have lots of positive effects. Normalizing frowned upon behavior is always difficult, but a very first step, for example, could be like me knitting during your classes. Furthermore, it is important to build community spaces for fiber artists, as it has been proven how big of an impact it can have on well-being. And that was my video essay for today, guys. I will link all of my sources down in the description. And you can also read my Substack, which has the same content. And I'd like to know what you think. Do you think knitting can be stimming? And what effects do you notice when you crochet or knit? Bye bye.